everybody to our regular scheduled August 5th, 2014 City Council meeting, and I do call this meeting to order, and we will, as always, start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll ask Sandy to read the clerk's open meeting statement for us.
This meeting and all other meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so the citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
And would you also take roll for us, Sandy?
Brian Smith.
Here.
Steve Hackett.
Here.
Deb Vensky.
Here.
Paul Hagan.
Here.
Alan Keeland. Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo.
Here.
John Lockwood.
Here.
Jillian Peterson.
Here.
And Eric Olson.
Here.
9 present. We have a quorum.
Thanks, Sandy. We have a few items on the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that council, staff, or the public would like to see moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda? Of course, what that means is that you would take a separate motion on that one individual item that you would move. Anybody that would like to see a change in the consent agenda? There are no additional handouts. We would just need a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Fensky, second by Lockwood, that we approve the consent agenda as printed. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Regular agenda. There are no additional handouts here tonight. One item that we would like to see changed or moved, I guess, if you don't mind. Help me out, somebody. Which one is it?
Item D.
Okay. So, license report number 1241. This is letter D. It asks that that be moved up to under new business, right before the taxi service update. So we'll put D before A, as we can do that.
Make a motion we approve the regular agenda with that change.
Second.
Motion by Lockwood, second by Hackett, that we approve the agenda with that one change. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, under non-agenda items and announcements, we do have one proclamation that I am going to read in for the record. This is a Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month proclamation. Whereas the annual incidence of spinal cord injury is approximately 12,000 new cases each year in the United States, each year with more than 250 being in Wisconsin. And whereas anyone can suffer from a spinal cord injury and more than 23,000 individuals in Wisconsin have SCI, and the therapy required and care for these individuals can vary greatly. And whereas an estimated 100,000 of those individuals are veterans who were impacted by spinal cord injury was serving as members of the United States Armed Forces, and whereas Madison SCI, a chapter of the National SCI, offers education, resources, and support, and is committed to enriching the lives of people, including our veterans who have been impacted by spinal cord injury or paralysis. Madison SCI members include not only people who have incurred paralysis or disability due to a spinal cord injury and related conditions, but also their families and friends, healthcare and rehabilitation professionals, policymakers, and corporations. Whereas spinal cord injury research benefits not only the paralyzed, it also has the potential to discover cures for other diseases such as strokes, Alzheimer's, Huntington's, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, post-polio syndrome, traumatic brain injury, and many other traumatic and disease of the central nervous system. There's a need for increased awareness, education, resources, and the investment in research here in Wisconsin to continue to improve the quality of life for individuals with spinal cord injuries. And whereas the dedication of local, regional, and national organizations, researchers, doctors, volunteers, and individuals that are working to improve the quality of life for individuals, family, and friends impacted by the SCI is to be commended. And whereas Madison SCI is recognizing September 2014 as Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Brian Smith, on behalf of the City of Waupaca, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2014 to be the Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month in the City of Waupaca, Wisconsin, and encourage individuals and businesses in our state to join in this observance and get involved in this effort. And that was just read for record purposes. Okay, let's move on then to public input. This is a time where an individual could come and speak to council on an item that's not on our agenda. Is there anybody in the audience or any council member or staff that would like to give us any non-agenda input? If not, then we'll move on to unfinished business. This is our fiscal year 2015 capital plan, and we're looking, remember, if you do remember, I'm going to turn it over to Henry here, but if you do remember, we did have a committee of the whole meeting after our last council meeting, and we did talk about a couple of different options that we had available to us. And I want to make sure that we understand that whatever we decide tonight, this still moves forward with the regular budget that we have, and we have to make sure that whatever we decide tonight does fit our regular budget along with this. But again, as I said at the last meeting, this is actually the first time where we've tried to look at the capital before we actually did the regular budget, and we'll see how this works out. But again, I'll turn it over to Henry.
Well, thanks, Mayor. You did a very good job of kind of recapitulating your discussions. In your packet, beginning on page 17, is the attachments we put in the packet for tonight. As a staff, we talked about how best to approach this to get you to a comfort level to make a decision, a tentative decision. So we decided maybe it would be good to give a range of options, and option one is a very bare bones option that addresses just two very simple projects that would fix the roof in the Hendrickson Center, as well as provide some money to do the resurfacing project that you've authorized John to design. That would be Hillcrest and Fulton, West Fulton, all the way to an option 4, which is pretty comprehensive, but would address concern or capital items that were identified in kind of year 14 and 15. If you remember, we made no decisions on capital for 2014 in the 2014 budget, so we're kind of trying to catch things up. But option 4 would address many of those projects that we have identified. You can see in the summary on page 17 that we've attempted to try to give you an impact to the mill rate and the potential impact in taxes, again, on a $100,000 home, so you can kind of see the effects of the options. Again, until we put the whole budget together, we're not sure how this will all fit together, but for staff's purposes, if we could get some direction of which option to kind of plan for, that would be very helpful. And that's what I've asked the mayor, if we could have this on the agenda to do that. So I don't know if you have any questions on the options. We had a pretty good discussion the last time on them, but I don't know if you have any other questions. Yeah.
Scott, go ahead.
Henry, we're talking about long-term and short-term loans here. Now, am I right in your definition of a short-term loan? It's a 90-day loan. It's paid off within next year?
What, again, because of levy limits and how we have to function here with the state law, yeah, a number of communities are doing that, and once you get your tax revenues in, you pay off the loan, but implicit in that is raising the taxes adequately to pay that short-term loan amount off. Now, there'll be a little bit of interest, but, you know, it's just a 90-day short-term note.
Well, excuse me, Debbie, just to follow up then, so when that loan's paid off, what kind of impact for the next year would the mill rate take then? Is it going to drop? Because we're going to have a long-term loan that's going to have to be paid for 10, 15 years, but this short-term, big, substantial chunk is, what's the impact?
Yeah, I think the council just decides that year in, year out, but I think one of our goals that's been very frustrating is to try to get a certain amount in the budget, and for sake of argument, around $100,000 to $150,000 that we can pay for vehicles, some minor pieces of equipment, and not tax or not borrow for those, because in our policy, debt policy, we're not supposed to borrow beyond the useful life of the purchase that we're funding through borrowing. So it's a way to get around levy limits, but I think ideally, if we went up 2.5% on the mill rate, and whatever that equated to, and we kept that every year for short-term borrowing until we get a different landscape with levy limits to deal with, you know, I would say probably try to carve that out every year so we have a little bit. But once you pick an option, I would go back to Brad Vagut and have him structure the long-term and the short-term and figure out how to put it all together.
So
Would
what
be
you're
the next step.
Okay, what you're saying is that this short-term loan might be a yearly occurrence. So once this mill rate is set, it's kind of set in stone. Is that what you're saying?
Well, but
Or, I mean,
again, I
to
think
fund
in,
that
in
short-term stuff?
2019, I think
Yeah.
our debt, 2018, 2019, our debt drops off, and that would, you have to take that all into consideration and the impact of mill rate. But I would say every year when the budget's developed, you'd want to look at that. Whether you know, again, it's based on need and whether you support, you know, these smaller purchases. But we don't want to borrow long-term for, you know, a squad car, let's say. Deb had a question.
Okay.
Actually, you answered it. I was going to ask, when does the debt drop off?
2018, yes.
It's a substantial amount too, isn't it? Okay.
And see, our financial advisor would figure out the best way to layer that in with the minimal impact to your mill rate. And I think the idea would be once you pick a option, we'd put it all together and then bring that forward as a whole budget document.
Dave?
I have a question. If this is the capital planning, we approve a certain option tonight, stuck with that, go on and we find out the general funding needs tax increase too, do we come back and hear either one or the other? I mean, somehow.
Absolutely. I mean, tonight is just to give direction for when they're doing the regular, when we're doing the regular budget, so we know what dollar figure to put in there, because it does impact the 2015 budget no matter what by borrowing this money. So by doing this tonight, we're just trying to figure out what that dollar amount will be when we put it into the general budget.
Because it appears to me we're gonna add some staff at higher salaries, or just add a new person for something, and it looks like we're gonna have to increase taxes just to cover that. So I just wondered if you play with the numbers once we give you an idea, and then.
Right, exactly. Exactly. It could change. There's no doubt it could change. Yep.
Just to get us started on a discussion, I said at committee of the whole, I like the fourth option. I think some of these things we cannot wait anymore. And with the debt dropping off in a couple of years, I think this is the time that we have to start working on this stuff.
So are you making that a motion, or are you just getting a discussion
Just getting a
started?
discussion.
Okay, all right. If we remember right, we did, as I said before, we did have a committee of the whole meeting And that was publicized. So for people that are listening tonight, if you wanted to hear the whole discussion that we had on the capital plan for 2015, you can go back to our last city council meeting and take a look at that. It is on tape, and you can get that off of our website if needed. Any further discussion? What do you want to do here then?
Mayor, I agree with Deb to a large extent. I personally like option 3 better. I'm thinking that we can, the difference between option 4 and option 3 is substantially City Hall. There's another difference I'd like to ask John Edelbeck on the difference between road reconstruction and road rehabilitation.
I think it's the same thing. I mean, if you're looking at option 3, we have $200,000 worth of road work, whether that's rehabilitation, reconstruction, or whatever that may be. It's the term. Don't get tied up with the terminology. Option 4 would then just add another $200,000 to our road program.
Okay.
So it's not. There's no means to. I think that's just how the terminology Henry used.
Do you have anything specifically identified for that additional 200,000?
Well, I'd like to sit down and talk about it, but yeah, we have obviously a number of roads we'd like to bring forth. And depending on where we go with the budget, specific roads that we feel as a staff are needed, and that also can impact our utility work on those roads. So,
Is it urgent that that those roads and utilities be addressed in 2015?
well, I think it's urgent that Hillcrest went as long as it did. I think it's in very bad shape. Fulton is in very bad shape from a
that's an ugly
rideability standpoint, both of those. So those are overdue if you ask me, but those are your roads and I guess your constituents. I can tell you that we are looking at Granite Street. Granite's in pretty rough shape. And we're looking at Lake Street. Now, whether those are the two streets, they're both in very, very rough shape from a drivability standpoint. But with them comes some utility work as well. So,
Okay.
But I guess it's what you feel is best. I feel that we should be spending that money, but that's up to you.
Isn't option 3 and 4 both have $200,000? One's
Option
not higher than the other, is it?
Option 4 has another 200.
Option 4.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, if you look down at the bottom of the
Oh, way
projects
down the
for
bottom, I
borrowing,
see it there. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. It was split up, but yeah. I think.
And option 4 has an extra $100,000 on the library,
Yes, sir.
City Hall renovation.
Although there must be, explain that to us again, Henry, because it really only goes up by about, I shouldn't say only, but it goes up by $250,000, but we just explained $300,000 difference there, so.
Well, I think it's probably in your short-term borrowing amount.
Oh, it's 3. Yeah.
No, it's the same.
Is it exactly 3?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm really good at math again, so.
Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve option 4.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Hagan and a second by Fensky that we approve the concept of moving forward with option number 4 when we do our budget for 2015. Discussion. Scott?
Henry, or maybe Gene, I presume Henry, we also have to decide tonight on the year sequence term for the long term, because there's quite a difference, in payments and
Yeah.
where is that going to be decided, or
Well,
when?
I would envision Brad taking this and coming up with a couple options for borrowing, and then you guys decide on that. I know in the past that 15-year term has been fairly typical on projects, but, I don't know. I mean, I think you can not worry too much about that, but he will have options for us, with the shorter term. I mean, it's going to impact your mill rate more,
Yes,
of course.
that's-
And you're going to pay it off quicker, and there'll be less interest expense, and you'll just have to decide what you want to do there.
Yeah, I envision, Scott, when we go through the budget process, that we'll have something similar to this, where we'll have options here, and one of them will be the length of the borrow on here. Any other, Jill,
I'm personally uncomfortable with 3 and 4. I think it's a huge amount. I think, according to the municipal tax rates for the state of Wisconsin, in our group of Wisconsin cities, we're the highest. We have the highest municipal tax rate in the state, and it has been that way since 2001. And I think we're talking about spending so much time on economic development, and it doesn't mean anything if people can't afford to live within the city. And I think it's too much money, it's too high of a jump, and it's too much of a burden on our taxpayers. I don't agree with 3 or 4.
so your issue isn't really with necessarily the projects themselves,
I
it's,
think it would be nice, it'd be great in a perfect world to do all of the projects all at once, but I don't think that it's responsible or feasible this time.
One of the things, if you look at how, over the course of the years, we've either not raised taxes or lowered taxes or had no tax increase, and many of the municipalities around us have had, especially the school district and the county, have had increases every year. Eventually, in order to do some of our capital projects that need to be done, unfortunately, there has to be an accounting of going forward where we can get some of these things done, and we might have to raise taxes because of it.
okay, any other, Dave, I'm sorry.
I think I'm a little more comfortable with option 3, I don't know how much difference in the mill rate that would make overall. I can kind of see what it is there, but $10 or something. I gotta get them both side by side here, yeah.
Again, I think it's very important to understand what we're doing here tonight is that we're saying, let's move forward. If we vote in favor of this, let's move forward with one of these options and see how it fits within our general budget. You might be right. We might end up with option 3, or we might end up with option 1 or 2, when we get all said and done. But the idea is that we don't want to move forward with something that council doesn't want to do. I mean, we want to make sure that you're on the same page here before we go forward with this.
And this is not locking us into anything. I mean, I'd like to see Brad's numbers on these. Basically, it's a what-if type of thing.
Right. You're exactly right. And it didn't pay for us to have Brad do a prospectus on this at this time because we didn't know what we were going to decide on. And now this will give us the ability to do that as we go through the budget process.
But if we, some of us don't like option 4 and not love the other options, we could take this vote and nothing will get passed. And then
I'm not
where
sure.
are we?
What's your question?
Well,
Sorry.
I guess, should we be just saying, okay, let's do option 4? Or, I mean, if a bunch of us vote down option 4, then where do we sit?
Take another vote.
Okay, well,
You never know how we're going to vote.
it sounds like you want something for the budget, but we just put a number in. I guess I'm not.
I think that's what we're doing here, Scott.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
I can support 4. John identified a couple of roads, Lake Street and Granite Street, and they're definitely in need, for sure. And that's the majority of the difference. I'm not sure when the last time City Hall was renovated. Has it been renovated since construction?
20 years ago?
So now we're talking 22, 23 years.
Yeah, and I think I'm talking with the staff, trying to pick out the real critical pieces. I mean, our side of the building, dated color-wise and stuff, it doesn't get the traffic the library has. And the library really needs a little help. I mean, our exterior painting, when you go home tonight, look at all the metal on the exterior of the building. It's rusting, it needs some attention.
Right.
Security systems dated, there's a lot newer techniques now, newer technology that will make life simpler when we have people leave us. We don't have to rekey the building if we have a termination that is less than beneficial for us, you know, and we don't want retaliation. So, I mean, I think the original estimate was somewhere around 700,000 when we talked about this a couple years ago, so we pared it down quite a bit to try to get to the critical pieces.
Eric?
Yeah, just looking at option one, when you look at them all together like this, option 1 through 4, they're really, from option 1 to option 2 is where the big leap is. And then from there on, they're kind of small increments. So, looking at that, to me, it's either option 1 or 4, because really, there's not a whole lot of difference between 2 and 4 in my mind, at least looking at the numbers. And I mean, I can appreciate Jillian's comments, and you look at the flip side of that. Your comments were along the lines of we can't. People may not want to move here because of the high taxes, but also if we don't keep up with the things that need to be kept up with, they may not want to move here for those reasons too. So we got to keep the things up, that we have, and so I support option 4.
Okay. Anybody else? Any more discussion? Jillian, I would appreciate, and this has happened before with some of our council members, but if you have some literature that you would like to pass on to us at some time, that you were talking about where you got that information from, it'd be nice for the rest of the council to see that. I'd appreciate that.
Pages from Municipal Facts, 2014.
Okay.
From the Wisconsin
Thank you.
Taxpayer Line.
I mean, I get that also, but maybe I didn't see it that way. But thanks, appreciate that. Okay, any other discussion? We'll take a roll call vote.
Jillian Peterson? John Lockwood?
Aye.
Eric Olson?
Aye.
Deb Fensky?
Aye.
Dave Peterson?
Aye.
Paul Hagan?
Aye.
Paul Mayo?
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky?
No.
And Steve Hackett. 8 ayes, 2 noes, motion carried.
7 ayes, 2 noes,
7 ayes, 2 noes, sorry.
1 absent. That's okay.
1 absent.
All right, well, thank you. We've now directed staff to move forward with the budget process, and we'll see what happens in the next couple of months. Okay, moving on to new business. Remember that we moved letter D up to the first item on there. This is license report number 1241, and it's a special class B temporary license to sell fermented malt beverage and wine. This is for the Waupaca Volunteer Fire Department, their 5-alarm 5K run walk. And Andrew Whitman is here tonight if we have any questions. And Andrew, you want to just give us a little bit on that?
Sure. This is our second year trying this. Last year was very successful. After we stopped doing the dance, we decided to try something a little bit lighter, a little bit more healthy for the community. And so we plan to keep everything exactly the same this year. We didn't have any problems last year. It's not about the drinking or the alcohol, but it's nice to have there after the race. So I recognize some faces in here that ran it last year, and as I said, I don't believe we had any problems, and we plan on keeping everything the same this year. But I can answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions of Andrew? Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
I wasn't one of the runners,
No, you're still here, Steve.
Right.
Sign up's still available, Steve, if you want to sign up.
And the question I have is about no fencing. The next one that comes up is for the business after 5, and that's a no fencing deal too. And one of our people recommend we do have fencing, one recommends we don't have fencing. Well, the reason for the fencing is so that you're confining the people who are drinking. I would think that this 5K run, there will be a lot more youth there than there would be at business after 5. So if you're talking about no fencing or yes fencing, I would think it's more important to have fencing at this event than at the business after 5. And I'm bringing this up because this other one's gonna come up later, and
Yep. And we're
more youth at this event, I would think.
there's some there, and I'm not exactly sure how Mike Youngers wrote it, and we're okay. I did put a diagram in there that Henry helped me with what we did for fencing last year, and if that's what you would like us to do, we're fine with that, because the way that Swan Park is set up, there's only minimal fencing to kind of enclose everything. So if that's the way that it needs to be done, then we're fine with that as well. We can get that set up.
Is it because of the location, where one is out at Swan Park and one is downtown?
I'm not sure how
That's a
much with
question for the
the,
chief, I think. is
yeah.
what that's for.
so I'm not sure what they have to do for the other one.
Well,
Well, doesn't it
they're
say
both
that-
on the same license report, so.
Well, we can take these separately, and that's fine, because we're gonna do them both right now, but
Doesn't it say
Yes.
fencing?
There's 2 sheets on that exact same sheet. It's got 2. One says yes and one says no.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
the-
at page 48, number
And then
2,
look at
letter
page
E.
49.
That's for the chamber.
Right.
No, this
Yes,
is
the two.
no, 49 is the,
48 is the 5-alarm
And
run.
look at 50
Well, it really boils down to, I think,
and 51.
you know, Chief and I differ opinion on the chamber event, and that's why you have the ordinance in your packet, because it's up to you to decide whether you want fencing or not. And it's just, there's a difference of opinion. I think with the fire department event, you know, you've got access points coming in. You fence those off, you've pretty much sealed in, you know, people at least carrying product out. So I think, you know, they offered to do the fencing as part of their application, and it probably is adequate for that setup. And then it just boils down to how you feel about the chamber event, I guess.
Okay, so just to be clear, the one that Andrew is talking about says in the application that beverages will be served, the area will be fenced off.
According to the
Says
drawing.
no.
I'm looking at
Page 47.
number 2, letter D on page 48. Or, I'm sorry, number 2, letter D.
John, look at the drawing on page 49, and you can see there's little red lines where the fencing would be.
well, but what he's saying is that, John, if you look at page 48, he's right, I guess I didn't read that. The fine print there either. It does say it's gonna be fenced off.
Right, so I want to
In the
make sure we're not
application.
talking about 2 different things here.
So in 40,
50,
Page 47, it says no.
just looking at the application.
okay, well, officially, we are looking at page 48. The page 47 is just a checklist that the clerk's office has come up with to go through this whole thing. So it looks like the checklist is probably incorrect, because the application does say that they will be fencing this area off. And that's what they've requested, to have it fenced off. Okay?
Yeah. We have no problem fencing it, and we will fence it just the same as last year's, so that people can't be carrying it out into the parking lot or other areas of the park. And
Okay.
Well, could I explain my note, because this is what's confusing people? I could have been a little more articulate, but if you look at the drawing for the 5-alarm dash, they're fencing off at the very perimeters on the entrances and exits. But where they're serving beer, there's a beer truck, and that area is not fenced. So I interpreted that as not really being fenced in as we typically do, because you can walk around the pavilion, you can, it's a fairly big area. So I took that as not really a complete fencing job, if you will. But I think, and if you look at it, it does deal with the entrance point. So if somebody's casually walking with a beer to their car, you can tell them you can't go beyond this point.
Correct.
So
Yeah,
you're
we-
almost got a perimeter.
We're kind of containing people to that area.
It's not
Okay,
perfect.
but you're interpreting something, Henry, that, I'm assuming this is probably the same application as was the year before. And
Yeah, it's exactly how
and
we
they
did
had
it
it
last
fenced
year.
in last year.
Yeah.
So they're asking to have it fenced off. It's as simple as that. Right? And you had no issues with that, Andrew?
No, because like I said, I mean, most people had their one beer that they got with the race and they got out of there. It's not like, maybe in the dance in the past where it's, people are drinking a lot. And we have a cutoff time. So most people are done. We do the awards by 11:30 and our cutoff time is, I believe, 1 o'clock. He might have wrote it as 2, but 1 o'clock, we kind of shuffle everyone out and say it's time to go home. So if someone really, hammers it down, then that's probably their own problem there. It's not really about the drinking.
Well, I would make a motion that we would approve license report 1241 concerning the 5-alarm dash to approve the request.
Okay, so right now, we're only talking about the Waupaca Volunteer Fire Department?
Correct.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion by Lockwood, second by Mayo, to approve license report number 1241, let's call it A, for the 5-alarm 5K run walk. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Andrew, I have one question for
Yes.
you. Do you want to take a minute and explain your fundraiser, because you have a captive audience here?
There you go.
Captive audience who wants to run it? Is that what you're saying?
No, like, where can we get tickets from? What are the big items? It's actually kind of cool.
Our raffle?
Yeah.
Okay, so our raffle is, we did change it a few years ago. We sell 450 tickets at $50, and so it's just a cash raffle. I do try to proclaim it as the biggest in Waupaca area, because top prize is $5,000. I think the top 4 or 5 are over $1,000, so we give away quite a bit of the money. We do draw it that day, and really, that's our main fundraiser revenue as the fire department with that. And the races just try to build a community event that we can draw that at and get people from the community out there. So I've only seen one person signed up in this room so far.
And where can we get tickets?
Tickets are any fireman will have tickets. I have a couple left, but they're going fast. And I believe Fletcher's Jewelry and Nelson Shell as well has some. So thank you.
Where can people register?
Race360.com. If you just go to race360.com, you can type in 5-alarm dash. On our posters as well, there's a direct link. If you can find a poster, or I believe it will be in the paper this week as well, a direct link as well. But you can just go to race360.com, type in 5-alarm dash. It's only $20. You get a great shirt, free beer if you're over 21, or a free sports drink if you're under 21, and just get to hang out with the community a little bit that day. So should be a good time, as it was last year.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
All right, we still have the Chamber of Commerce request for their temporary license to sell. You're not actually selling it though, are you? Okay. This is a Business After 5 event that will be held in the Chamber's parking lot. If I understand properly, Terry's here tonight, Terry Schultz, if you have any questions of her. you have been doing this event for quite a few years in August, right? Correct?
Yes.
She's saying yes, yeah, if you can't see her. So, what do you want to do here? Motions, anybody?
I would move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Fenske, second by Lockwood, that we approve of the request from the Waupaca Area Chamber of Commerce to have a business after 5 on August 26th, 2014, from 4:30 PM to 7 PM. And this would be in the Chamber's parking lot on the corner of Badger and South Main Street. Any discussion?
This is where I brought it up for the fireman's dance, is because on this particular event, the checklist that I'm looking at shows on page 50 that Henry initialed it and says no fencing required. Then on page 51, Chief initialed it and he said yes, fencing is required. And I think it's probably our duty to say yes or no. Maybe we should hear from the two people that are saying yes or no.
So we got, I guess I skipped over that, but
Two
yeah, I
checklists.
mean, we got they're each filling out a checklist, and we have one item that's different than that. Well, let's ask Terry, first of all. Terry, what's the idea with, if you don't mind? What are your thoughts on the fencing?
Well, obviously, we'd appreciate it if we did not have to have fencing. It makes our life a lot easier
For setting it up?
for setting it up and taking it down. The area is pretty defined. It's basically our parking lot. Obviously, we have landscaping across the front. We usually have tents and tables set up. No one's allowed to park in our lot. We use the whole lot just for that event. Alcohol is pretty limited. You know, people aren't there to get drunk. All of the beer and wine is donated, so it's pretty limited as to how much someone can drink. And it's basically by invitation only. It's not open to the public.
Okay. Chief?
The reason I'm requesting the fencing is because it's in a very public area. It adjoins 2 public sidewalks. Part of the parking lot also is the access to the kiosk, the 24-hour public access kiosk, which is, you got to get into the parking lot to get into that. And it's right adjacent to the sidewalk on Badger Street. My request to have it fenced is to make it more defined and to separate the general public on the sidewalk, anyone wanting to get into the kiosk, to where they want to have open alcohol.
Henry?
Well, I appreciate the chief's position on this, but, you know, Chamber is a very active group. They're responsible. They've had a lot of events. And why we address an issue when we really don't have a problem? I don't. And, you know, you have groups that are volunteer groups, and it takes some time to set up. And I appreciate the position, but I don't, given that this is going to be over in daylight, and one year it was so bleeding hot, I mean, you hardly had anybody there because it was too hot to be outdoors. So it just seems to me, you know, where I would fall down on it, I would be in a court with the chief, and every turn would be on these events where we have live music, it goes into the dark, and, you know, the opportunities for these things get exponential at that point. So you know, it's okay. It's just a difference of opinion on it. I mean, I know we tend to have a lot of consensus usually as a staff. On this one, we just differ. You know.
What are your thoughts? We do have a motion, but we don't know what the motion really is because we do have a difference here. I mean, we don't know if we're voting in favor of the fence or not the fence, so we really need a clarification here. So I forget who made the motion.
Fenske and Lockwood.
Okay, so you guys, you might want to listen to a little bit more discussion here first, but you might need to change your motion a little bit.
Okay.
Dave?
Could I ask, is a fence like a snow fence, a cyclone fence, or could we just rope or a ribbon or something just around the area itself? Something pretty simple you could tie to a light pole or something.
You'd have to refer to the ordinance. I think it dictates the fencing requirements in the ordinance. And I guess when we check off that box, I don't think we're having a difference of opinion in the ordinance. It's just a request. I'm not saying that ordinance requires it. I'm not saying the ordinance doesn't require it. It's just a request. So we're not disputing the ordinance, I don't think. It's just the circumstances could require it.
Mayor,
That makes sense. Yeah, go ahead.
this is a private function. As Terry said, it's by invitation only. If underage people were to go into the parking lot and start grabbing beer and drinking it, that'd be pretty obvious to those people that are running the event, and I think the chances of that happening are pretty slim. I've been involved in events that have fencing, and fencing is a major pain. I understand the need for it in some events, but it's a lot of work. And given that this is a private function in a fairly small area with substantial amount of chamber staff and membership there, I think the chances of difficulty occurring with minors is pretty slim.
I guess I'm just a bit confused. Is it, as I think some other people are, is fencing required by the ordinance or not?
If you dictate it, yeah. It's not required. There's no requirement, but it's written that the council can require it.
So it's at our
Yes,
option?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if we do require it, there are requirements that have to be met as far as what the fencing is.
I think it's important too to note that although this is the first year we're having the discussion about this for this event has happened for the last 10 plus years. And has there ever been a problem with underagers or needing police assistance or anything? So I mean, this isn't a new event. This is something that's happened in the past. We just was recognized last year, like, hey, they didn't get the right permit or get the right application approved. Deb, I don't know how you meant to move your motion, but I was assuming that it was the no fencing. So, however you want to go on that, I'll make my decision on supporting your motion, I guess, if you want to clarify it.
Do you want just a whole new motion? Do you want
Just no fencing, or no fencing is included in your motion, I think is all we're looking for.
no fencing?
Second.
Okay, so the motion is to approve this license report, which we're gonna call 1241B for boy. And this one would not include fencing. You've heard the discussion. Any other discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Steve Hackett.
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Deb Fenske,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
John Lockwood,
Aye.
and Jillian Peterson. 9 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Okay, let's go back then to letter A, which was the Waupaca taxi service update. And I know we have Carl and Dave are both in the audience. Henry, I'll let you set this up for us.
Well, it's coming up to application time. Our application is due October 15th, and we've got a couple moving parts that we wanted to try to address today. We've got some representatives from Brown Cab. We want to give you an update on where we're at. I think you'll like what you're seeing in terms of the health of the system. And they have some ideas on some operational changes, slight changes and fair changes. Again, very slight, but the DOT requires that we have a public hearing, offer the opportunity for a public hearing so people can have input on it. And we got to get that done before we put the application in, and, you know, so that's a couple pieces. And then finally, if you remember a few months ago, we applied for a capital grant. We did get it. And we have a way that we think we can fund that, and we want to seek your input and approval on that. But I'm not sure which one of you guys want to go first. Mrs. Dave Lowe, yeah.
Carl drove, so I get to talk was the deal, I think, coming up. Anyway, we're running for the umpteenth.
Would you just tell us who you are?
I'm Dave Lowe. I work for Running Incorporated, which owns Brown Cab. And we're running for the, I don't know, what, 7th or 8th year in a row, record ridership for Waupaca Taxi. Last year, we did about 61,000 rides. This year, we're on pace to do about 65,000 rides. In a city this size, and even with the surrounding area, that's one of the busiest systems statewide, and we operate 24 systems, and I'm aware of several others, and this is a very successful program. It has tremendous support from the users of the system, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So we're looking at a couple of tweaks, so to speak, as far as operational for next year. One of them is simply starting a half hour earlier in the morning, because we have more and more medical appointments that people are needing to ride on. So we're getting bombarded when our drivers show up in the morning. So we're looking to affect a half hour earlier start to kind of get a head start on that stuff, if we can do that. Second, we're looking to move it from 6:30 until 6 a.m. That way we can get out there and meet those early morning needs and be on schedule better for all day. Second change we're looking at is we're looking at staying open the 3 summer, quote, holidays of Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day. We had a lot of phone calls and a lot of requests this year on July 4th. Not so much for Labor Day, which hasn't happened yet, or Memorial Day, but we had a bunch of stuff for July 4th. And with next year, with July 4th being on a Saturday, we're really thinking closing the taxi probably isn't the world's most brilliant idea on the Saturday and Saturday late nights and things of that nature. So we're requesting the ability to stay open on July 4th with a regular Saturday schedule, and on the other 2 days with a limited one-cab schedule between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. The other, fare-wise, what we're looking at is right now, we have a $1 surcharge for rides that begin after 10 o'clock. That means that for regular adults, the fare, instead of 3 1/4, becomes 4 1/4, and the senior fare, which is regularly $2, becomes $3. We've had some experience in a couple of our other systems with Safe Rides and a $5 flat fee after 10 o'clock, and nobody complains because paying that $5 is a whole lot cheaper than getting an OWI. And we're suggesting that Waupaca adopt the $5 fare for the hours after 10 o'clock. We believe the additional revenues there will more than cover the additional costs for the hours that we're talking about for the early morning start in the holidays. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. We also are putting out there another suggestion. This year, it looks like our numbers are indicating we've got a $13,000 in city share budgeted this year. We're going to need maybe about $6,000 of that for operational. If we eliminated the second person gets a dollar discount fare. We pretty much, at least at this point, think that our numbers indicate we do about 6,000 of those discounts a year. Since we're talking about a dollar discount for the second person, if we eliminate the discount, that's $6,000, and it effectively would take care of the operational deficit. We'd still need some money for capital, but it would take care of the operational deficit. Those are decisions that the council makes. We're just throwing it out there and saying if you're looking at it and that's what you want to do. To kind of get some idea, to get feedback to Henry and to us when we start looking at doing that, as to whether you want to adopt those fare changes or not. The second thing I'm basically here for is to talk about capital needs. When we did last year the request for proposal, which we were fortunate enough to receive, basically it was said that all the vehicles will be city municipally owned vehicles and we will lease them from you. And we're fine with that. It's just that we're in a position where a couple of vehicles are going to be needing, one is going to need replacement relatively soon. The other one is a matter of convenience to replace relatively soon. And by convenience, doesn't mean us. It means the people who use the service. Right now, we have a 3-wheelchair bus that's used to serve primarily the Veterans Home at King. That vehicle has got, the last I looked, so we had about 189,000 miles on it. It is going to need replacing in the next 6 to 9 months. The other thing that we're looking at doing is right now, when we get a person in a wheelchair in the city of Waupaca, our driver takes the Crown Victoria back to the shop, gets into the high-top van that's accessible to go get them. We would like to replace the high-top van with a rear entry minivan as a start to put accessible minivans into most of the vehicles so we don't have to have that delay in going back and forth to get a vehicle for one person, that we can use the rear entry minivan as a regular taxi vehicle. And then when we get a wheelchair ride, we dispatch that vehicle that's already on the street to that wheelchair client, which obviously saves us a lot of time. It gets us to the passenger a lot quicker. They're happier, the drivers are happier, and hopefully the whole system runs better. So with the amount of money that has been allocated by this council for 2014, we do have enough money for match for the local minivan, for the rear entry minivan. With the local money that's already there, it'll take about somewhere around $5,500 to $6,000 for the 20% match for that vehicle. And then for replacing the bus, we will sell the high-top van and another, and the bus, which will account for about $7,000 or $8,000 next year. We'll need about $10,000, depending on how we're able to work things with the state and with piggybacking their stuff and the vehicle. We'll need probably $2,500 or so to $3,000 in additional funds. We're talking to Waupaca County for their vehicle replacement fund. We're going to ask their committee, their transportation coordinating committee, for $4,000 at their October meeting. Hopefully we'll get that. And that will, with the sale of the other vehicles, plus that money, we'll have enough money to buy the bus for King shortly. So tonight I would like for you to give staff approval to proceeding to buy a rear entry minivan for the taxi service using the capital grant that was received from the Department of Transportation and the necessary 20% match from the current allocation for the taxi operation. And I'm willing to take any questions. I've probably thrown a lot of transportation type jargon at you, and I've tried not to confuse you, but I'm sure I have.
Let me make sure I understand what we're attempting to do here tonight. First of all, let's go with the last thing Dave talked about, and that is to just purchased the minivan that allows the rear entry of wheelchairs. Okay, and as you explained that to us, that would be at no, what would the cost be to us again on that?
The cost will be, okay, you have a grant that covers about 85% of the cost,
Okay,
or 80%, and then there's a little because it's accessible, so it's a little over the 80%. Somewhere around 83% of the cost. Those vehicles are, in bidding them for a couple of other municipalities, are running right around $30,000 is what the bids are coming in. So you're looking at probably somewhere around $5,500 to $6,000 in matching share. That, there's $13,000 in the budget for taxi for this year. Because of the continued growth in passenger revenues and passenger load, we're only going to need probably about $600 to $6,500 of that 13. So there's money in the budget that's already been allocated to taxi that'll cover the local share of the minivan.
okay, so if we approve the purchase of that minivan, we're going to be using approximately $6,000 of the 2014 budgeted money.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, everybody understand that? Okay, do we want to take that first before we talk about the other items, since it's as clear as mud now?
I'll make a motion, we buy the rear entry wheelchair van.
Second.
We have a motion by Hackett, second by Hagan, that we approve of the purchase of this rear entry minivan at a cost not to exceed $6,000 from the city, and that monies will be coming out of the 2014 budget. Any discussion? Sandy, will call the roll?
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Deb Fensky,
Aye.
Jillian Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
John Lockwood,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
and Dave Peterson.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, and then, this is, I don't think we're approving this at this time, are we? We're just giving we're giving our opinion on what we think about, the changes that Dave has talked about, and the one, is staying open on Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day, which they don't at this time.
That's right, we do not stay open on those days.
Okay, the other one was opening at 6 a.m. instead of 6:30 a.m. Looks like you're actually going to generate more income by being open earlier.
We would hope that at least it will be revenue neutral, if not a positive, yes.
Okay, and then you talked about how did you explain that, the dollar discount?
Okay, there's a dollar, right now, if Carl and I are riding together, and we call the taxi, one of us pays the regular fare and one of us gets a $1 discount. And I guess they get to you've talked about this. Apparently, sometimes people argue about who qualifies for the discount and who doesn't. But we're just suggesting that maybe we want to just do away with that, because this is a public transit program, and if Carl and I are going to Madison and get on Madison Metro, we don't get a discount when we ride Madison Metro, even if we're getting on at the same place. So we're kind of thinking this is a way to, because as noted, the state and federal share of operations has dropped in the city of Waupaca by about $25,000 over the last 4 years. We don't anticipate that manna from heaven coming down anywhere soon to restore that. So we're trying to, this is a way to reduce, if possible, the city share of operation cost to zero. And that's kind of what we're thinking of doing, is just eliminating that and also going to a $5 flat fee for rides generated after 10 p.m. So
No matter where they start.
they're all the trips, have to either start or end in the city of Waupaca if they're
No,
going,
What I meant is their location.
right.
So it doesn't matter what location they start from,
They
it's still
could-
gonna cost them $5.
Whether they go from the bar or whether they go from
Their house?
their mother's house
Okay,
to home, if the trip it initiates after 10 o'clock, it's a $5 charge.
so then from 6 AM to 10 PM, the price would be 3.25,
$3 1/4 and $2, depending on,
$2 for the senior.
for the seniors. Those would not change.
Okay. Just a FYI for people here, the Wisconsin Tavern League actually pays that $5 for the individuals that call from the bars, and if you belong to the Wisconsin Tavern League, they will reimburse you.
They'll
that
do a
$5.
voucher system for the Tavern League for their clientele. Yeah.
So,
Make the motion, we approve all these changes
well,
as stated.
are we ready for this? Because I think this has to be written up in a contract. We're just trying to.
No, what we're doing is just getting a sense of the council, because if you say a go, then I will get an ad in the paper soon asking the public if they want to have a public hearing on this. This is something that's the DOT is going to require as part of my grant application. So what I see happening is if you say yes in concept, we have opportunity for public hearing, then we'll put the grant application together reflecting these changes. And if you prefer, I can, I always do, I get your permission to submit the grant application and we can bring it forward for your final approval. We just got to get that done by the 15th of October.
Yeah, so what we would do is if you think that these fare changes and operation changes are a good idea, you can kind of instruct Henry to put that in the grant application, and then you will get an opportunity before the application is sent in to approve the application, approve in sending an application for funding.
So,
Sort of like the capital plan, Mayor. You're just sort of in principle agreeing to it.
anybody have any discussion on this? We talked about a number of things. Paul?
These are good changes. I support them.
I agree.
Me too.
Awesome.
When we're done with this, I have another question.
Okay. I mean, as it looks, I mean, if everything works out the way it is, it's actually gonna cost us less next year. And we're gonna end up hopefully with 2 new vehicles along with that. So, how can you say no to that?
We're trying to make it easy for you guys to say yes to us. Paul, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm looking at your fleet status, and I was just curious, what are your parameters for replacing your Crown Victorias? I see one's got over 200,000. When do you?
We have a grant for a second rear load minivan that we would plan on replacing the Crown Victoria with sometime in 2015. We also have been in discussions with the Veterans Home, who have a couple vehicles that they're not using because of staffing issues down there. And those vehicles are actually owned by the county. So we're in discussions as whether the Veterans Home wants to give up control of those vehicles, send them back to the county. If they do, then the county is talking about letting us lease the vehicles from the county like we have from the one bus now, to get utilization. So we may or may not be coming back for that second capital application, but we are looking at phasing out the Crown Victorias. The oldest one by next year for sure, and the other ones probably in 16 and 17 because they'll be up to pushing 200,000 miles. So we do have kind of a plan for doing it, but we don't want to come in here and say, okay, give us $50,000 all at once for capital and we won't bother you for 5 years. We think it's a lot better to just replace 1 or 2 vehicles a year as we work forward and eventually the idea is to have the entire city fleet be accessible minivans so we don't have to have a special wheelchair vehicle, that all the vehicles can accommodate wheelchairs. We'd like to have that by about 2018, about the time where our contract runs out.
Awesome.
Do we have to have an official say by council, or is just saying yes, okay?
We will when he gets as Henry said, we're gonna have to have a contract, public hearing, and all of that. And then
Okay.
at that time, you will be.
But we're
This
just,
is fine, we don't need one now.
no, we're just asking for direction now, and I think we've
Got some
got it.
It is
consensus?
like the cap. Steve, go ahead.
And one other thing you talked about, the information we got was advertising
Yes.
on your vehicle.
We're looking at that. Carl's been more in contact with that than I have, so I'll let you talk now.
Well, it's just very simple. I'm in contact with one of our suppliers, and so far they're indicating great interest. I don't have any commitments right now.
All right, thank you. Good luck. Forward to working with you again.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Awesome. All right, let's move on then to the 3-year agreement for snow removal at the Waupaca Municipal Airport. I'll turn it over to Paul Hagan. He is now the chairman of the airport board, so. Paul.
All right, we had this contract come up. It is a no change from previous years. There was 2 contracts that were bid, and the Paul's Concrete one was considered better because of the fact that the other contract wanted to just come in all the time and just do it automatically, where Paul's will allow us to do some of our own snow removal and come in as called, thus saving us a great deal of funds. So the airport board felt that this was by far the best option, and I would make a motion for its approval.
Second.
Motion by Hagan, second by Hackett, that we approve of the 3-year agreement with Paul's Concrete Construction and Excavating Incorporated and the City of Waupaca. Any discussion? At a no change from previous contract.
Yeah.
I only have one question. It says, and I'm sure you guys must have seen this, but what does the fuel surcharge attached chart look like?
I don't have that.
I mean, if it gets over a certain dollar
Yeah,
amount?
if it's over a certain dollar amount, then there's and that's a very standard attachment for contracts such as this. And I believe the base was somewhere around $2 or something like that. So there's always going to be a fuel surcharge.
Brian?
Sandy has it. Okay.
Well,
Awesome. We didn't get this in our packet, right? I didn't see it.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's all your fault.
No, it isn't.
No, she wasn't here.
Oh, it's Barb's fault.
No, it's my fault.
Nice. She's not even here.
All right, so if it's over $2.30, then there is a additional, so if it gets to $2.40, there's an additional charge of 50 cents per hour.
we'd be also lucky if we didn't have to have that fuel surcharge.
Well, we're at $4 and the top of the chart is $4.30, so it looks like we'll probably end up ahead because, I mean, it stops there, so the most they can charge us is an extra $10 per hour on there. So if you look at your prices there, that's what you're probably looking at is 105 for the top one, 130 for the second one, so on.
And that fuel surcharge chart was also constant from previous contracts.
Awesome. All right. Any further discussion? If not, Sandy will call the roll.
Paul Hagan?
Aye.
Dave Peterson?
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky?
Aye.
Jillian Peterson?
Aye.
Paul Mayo?
Aye.
Eric Olson?
Aye.
Steve Hackett?
Aye.
Deb Fensky?
Aye.
And John Lockwood.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
All right, let's move on then to license report number 1240. This was a taxi cab driver's application by Scott G. Van Handel. And again, this is license report number 1240. Just to set this up for you, Mr. Van Handel applied for, to have a taxi cab driver's license. He filled out his application. The chief did some background check on it. And Chief, do you want to just tell us, so I know it's in the packet, but if you want to just verbally explain it to us.
Yeah, as you can tell that there's a number of convictions, both felony misdemeanors on his record. I can only certify criminal history in Wisconsin. Since this is not a law enforcement investigation, it's much more difficult to get civil records. In Wisconsin, we do it for a $7 fee. He did have a previous address in California. Again, I cannot get that without more costs involved through the civil process to get those records. And also, it looks as though he had gone by a couple other legal names. And that also, again, I cannot certify criminal history based on those other names. So what's in your packet and what's on the memo is what I can ascertain in the state of Wisconsin.
Okay, so with that in mind, are you proposing that we deny this, or you're again
I'm not
leaving
giving
that
a
up to us?
recommendation.
What's that?
I'm not giving a recommendation.
Okay. All right. So, as you said in your memo to us, of course, Chief, and one of the questions on the application is that have you ever been convicted or a felony, I think it should say of, but a felony or misdemeanor, and he did answer yes. But, and you did do further research and find that there were a number of items that occurred. Mr. Van Handel, I think, is in the audience, right? Scott, you want to just step up to the podium? Just give your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Scott Van Handel, 826 Sunridge Drive here in Waupaca.
You have something prepared that you want to say to us?
What he said is accurate. There is no criminal history in California. That's why I actually drove cab before. The name change, there was Brown County has started a name change to Scott Mayo. That he has listed. That is also correct, and that was back in 1994. Scott, as far as the Social Security number, there was when you do a name change, I think there's something you put in the paper for like 3 weeks. That I failed to do, so it didn't go through. But that was attempted in Brown County. A lot of everything that's happened in my criminal history happened in my youth. My teens, early 20s, I was trouble. Not like that anymore, obviously. Looking for extra income, so I applied with the cab company. It's something I've done in the past. Got this individual mandate that's coming up this next year. I want to prepare for it for my family so we can stick around with Waupaca. Things are a little tight, so that's my motivation for getting a cab driving permit.
Anybody have any specific questions? Go ahead.
Well,
Eric.
I'm just looking at the application, and maybe I'm reading something wrong here, but it says the undersigned Scott do hereby apply for a taxi driver's license in the city of Waupaca from July 16th, 2014 to June 30th, 1999.
Not sure why it says that either, but it's
All their they just haven't updated their forms, so I'll say that. So
Seems a little odd that you're applying for it from July of 2014 to June of 1999. Yeah, a little bit backwards.
well, that doesn't look like his writing,
That's
though.
not his writing.
no, it's a full copy. It just hasn't been changed from the cab office.
And this is coming from where the taxi cab?
Yeah.
So you didn't come to the clerk's office to fill this out. You filled it out at the taxi cab service
Right.
office?
Right after
And
the
then
interview.
they sent it to the clerk's office?
I hand delivered it after it was filled out.
Okay. So, Henry, Sandy, can we get this fixed here a little bit? So these licenses are on a calendar year or fiscal year? Or are they for a year? And everybody's at a different time?
No, we do it as part of our annual licensing, so it's through June 30.
So it's July 1st through June 30th.
Yeah, so it should read June 30, 2015.
15.
2015,
So-
yeah.
So, everybody, mark it on your screen here. 2015 should read. Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Scott, have you, since your latest here, I guess looks like in 1998, have you lived outside of the state of Wisconsin?
No, I lived in California, 1992 to 1994, right about there. That's the only time I lived out of state.
Okay. So I guess what I'm getting at is if there were any other criminal offenses from 98 till present, we would see them on this report.
Right. And that's a 98 file date that, technically it was 1997 was the last criminal act.
Thank you.
Anybody else, any questions of staff or Mr. Van Handel? All right, anybody want to make a motion? Your options here, of course, are to approve the license report, to not approve the license report. I think you should, if you decide not to, you should make a motion not to. So really, those are your two options, to approve or not to approve.
So if we approve, he gets the license?
Yes.
I'll make that motion to approve license report 1240.
Second.
A motion by Olson, second by Lockwood, that we approve the license report number 1240, which would give Mr. Van Handel a taxi cab driver's license through June 30th of 2015. Any discussion?
I would like to just say one thing on if you ever apply for other things like bartending or another license, if you have to go to CCAP and print out what the offenses are and say see attached, just put it on the application and just be honest and upfront with it. It makes our job here a lot easier to know exactly. I think it might be some reservation by some people. It was for me before although I seconded it. It just doesn't sit quite well if you aren't completely honest on your application. I believe everybody deserves a second chance, and you've obviously shown that you've kept your record clean for quite a long time, but always just put it out there to let us know exactly what's going on.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, so again, if you vote aye, you're voting in favor of giving this taxi cab driver's license to Mr. Van Handel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. We had seven ayes. No. 8 ayes, 1 no, 1 absent. Motion carried. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on then to, we did already take care of license report number 1241, so let's go to license report number 1242. This is an operator's license. It is on page 55 of your packet. Remembered right, there was 5 names that were on there. We did not receive a memo from the chief on these or from the clerk's office. So what would you like to do here?
Make a motion, we approve license report number 1240.
Second.
A motion by Hackett, second by Mail, that we approve of the license report, which is operator's license number 1242. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. All right, let's get into the Economic Development Strategic Plan. Brennan, you ready?
Hopefully. I'll try to keep this brief and short for you guys. Thank you, Mayor Smith and members of council. In front of you this evening is the draft plan for consideration for the Waupaca Strong, the strategic plan for economic development. To start off, I want to say again thanks to everybody in this room that took the time out of their schedules and had the extra meeting for about 5 months. It was definitely appreciated, along with the other members of the team that are not here this evening. But Eric Fall, Dave Teal, Melita Byrne, Mike Colas. They were definitely instrumental as we went through the different sessions that we had for to gather all the data to actually prepare the document that's in front of you. We presented this back at a committee of a whole meeting probably about a month and a half ago. At that time, that was the draft plan, and it kind of outlined the 6 goals that we're going to be trying to move towards. Those are kind of the general overall themes and goals that we have, and then there's a bunch of action strategies that we were looking to implement. And I forgot to put on your packet, but this is about a 5-year strategic plan, so it's 2014 through 2019. And I just want to stress that this is a work plan, and as we go through, as you go through the document, and I know that it was brought up during the committee of the whole meeting as well, there are some action items that will need consideration at a future date when we go through the budget cycles. This is intended to be a work plan that's reviewed on a year-by-year basis, and as we, kind of scratch off some of the items, hopefully within the work plan, and we start looking at some other initiatives that we need to take a look at and start implementing, they are going to have some budget constraints. And I understand at the end of the day that everything will have to come through the city council as we move forward on some of these action strategies. And it's up to the discretion of the council at the end of the day whether or not they want to fund those items or maybe take a look at a different option. So, this is a fluid document. It's, again, it's a kind of a general work plan that I'll be looking at along with some, you guys on a year-to-year basis to see how we're doing. I'm not going to go, specifically through the plan. I think, just from the sessions that we've had and everything else, it's kind of clear, hopefully the direction that we're looking at with the different goals, but just kind of outline some of the things that we are looking at doing for the remainder part of the year. And we've already started some of these initiatives, but one of them is just kind of develop some roundtables and small business council. We're actually working, when we talk about the Small Business Council, Henry, myself, and we've had some concern from some of the Main Street businesses, so we're actually looking to have a downtown forum next month, and I'll explain that in my next report in a couple weeks here. But looking to have some smaller groups hopefully formed that we can work with on a month-by-month basis, whether it's small business or large business, but a couple different working groups. And when we look at what's needed for businesses and companies within our community. Another action item that we're going to be looking at is the city does have a CDA currently, Community Development Authority, but looking to reinvigorate that a little bit, bring some potentially new people on board, and have that more as an acting committee that meets on a month-by-month basis is something that we'll be looking for. Increasing the city's presence at some of these other trade shows or commissions or networking events. I do a bunch of that right now, and we'll continue to do some of those action items through the remainder of 2014. I am almost complete with my courses for IEDC. My last one will be in November, and then hopefully I'll be taking the exam next year, so that's definitely a positive step in direction moving forward. And then just some of the general stuff that the council has already seen. We have updated our website. That was kind of the start of working with Josh to actually redo the entire city's website, but we kind of have merged the two together. We used to have two separate websites, the Waupaca Edge, which was more the economic development, and then the planning and development. We've actually merged both of them together, and have definitely seen a lot of positive traction on that and a lot of positive hits on that. We've seen an increase every month that has gone up, and we continue to update that. I have an intern in the office right now, so that's definitely helping. And we'll continue to update the information and get as much information out on the website. I feel that, going through the trainings, the web presence is definitely going to be huge. When we look at site selectors and people looking to move into the community, that's kind of one of the first steps that they go to is our website. So the information will be out there. And then just in general, continuing to meet with businesses. We're going to try to do a target of about 20% retention visits per year. Kind of do a continuous recycle or a continuous cycle, about every 5 years, try to get to the different businesses. Of course, when new businesses move into the community, we'll definitely have that as well. But there's some tools out there that we can utilize to update company information and have those available as we move forward. So I guess I'll open it up for if there's any questions that the council has.
You ready?
I just want to say I think you did a great job on this. It's a very extensive report.
Thank you. And I also have to give credit to my one intern that he's helped me produce get some of this together. So Jordan, who's not here tonight, but he's definitely been beneficial in the background helping us get this pulled together, along with the website as well.
Might pipe in a little bit. I think this has been something we've been talking about for ever since Brennan's been on board to get going and actually give us a game plan as staff. I think this goes a long way to doing that. And, you know, with your support, now we know that you generally in agreement with what you see. And as Brennan mentioned, I mean, we have the budget reality. So as we bring forward the budget next year, there'll be some costs associated. I think we have some ability with our TIF districts to maybe put some of that cost in there. I mean, there's some costs, there's not super big ticket items for next year. So I think this is something that I know personally I was very happy that you guys supported and participated in, because now we kind of have a game plan. I think some of this stuff is sort of no-brainer. Economic development, like the retention visits, you always want to do that. You want to have a good regulatory environment, turn projects around. I think we do really well when getting projects in and out the door. I think we're exceptional there. But this all gets it in one place, and the real good piece on it is the accountability piece will come back, you know, in the fall of each year as we gear up for the next year's budget. We'll talk to you about, you know, where we've been, and I'm sure every month he'll have a section of his report, or a report, kind of what he's worked on with the plan. And so I want to thank, I guess echo Brennan's comments. I thank you guys for making the effort, because I think now we have, you know, something we can really run with. So thank you.
Anybody else? Any comments on that? I guess what we're really looking forward to, Brennan, is seeing you obtain everything that the council has asked you to in this. So look forward to that in the future.
Continue to move forward. Looking forward to continuing to work with you guys and bring some of these things to reality here.
Awesome. Thanks. We have, oh, we need to approve this. I'm sorry. We're going to put this on record for us, so we're going to look for an approval of this.
I'd move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mayo, second by Fensky, that we approve of this economic development strategic plan that Brennan Keane has presented to us not only tonight but in the past. Brennan, I think we all agree that the help that you got from the other individuals was much appreciated. It was good to see that we had an individual from the state, what was the name of that group again?
WDC.
WDC. That was very helpful to see them here. It gave us a little wider range what was going on. Then, of course, Dave Teal, who's our county economic development, all of these individuals, they volunteered their time, and that was great. They were here to be able to help us.
Their support's not done. I mean, they'll, continue to be a partner as we go through all this. And one of the goals, or if you look on the 6 goal sheets are at the back, there's different areas where, they'll be in support in getting some of these initiatives done. So their work is definitely not done at the same time. So.
Awesome. You want a roll call? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. We have change order number 1. Looks like, John, you're handling this?
Yeah, I've worked with our staff with the city here and Roger Hansen in the field. And as you recall, on May 6th, the Common Council approved a recommendation to allocate up to $35,000 of additional donor money used towards the construction of this lower concrete patio. We've worked with the contractor with that construction, identified with them a culmination of all the items out there throughout the project identified as change order number 1. So it's the prime bid A, the alternate bid A2, and alternate bid AA4, portions of those unawarded sections initially. This work, we added the concrete patio, as you're aware, and most of you have seen this, the concrete patio area with the retaining wall. There was also some additional sidewalk added along the entranceway to connect South Main Street to the park itself. So as you go down South Main, there was not initially an award of that, what we call carriage walk or sidewalk behind the curb from Hutchinson House to the park. That was also added as a part of this because we felt it was necessary and that would fit the budget. The final change order did come in at $35,746.18. That did provide all that work. We've worked with the contractor on the quantities, and they do agree, and our staff agrees with these numbers as well. So we would need action on that tonight. And then once this change order is approved, I believe you'll be seeing, I don't know what has been submitted for pay requests, but there'll be associated pay requests. So this is just for advanced contractors or advanced construction that this change order reflects.
Okay, so basically what you're saying, Brennan and John, in your memo there is that we approved of the $35,000 at a prior meeting, and now that the work has been completed, this is what it came in at, and we now need to approve this?
Well, we approved the change order. There's a means to approve this change order, and then the pay request that comes in reflects the change order. This is a change in the contract amount. The $746.18, I believe Henry and Brennan are identifying the contingency or the base bid would be able to provide funding for that $700 amount.
Actually, it's your road construction fund for the year.
We don't have it. You don't have one. You have to go back to your contingency.
And as my memo states, we have seen some other savings as we've come through on some of the other base bid contracts that the city council did award, so we can absorb the overage of the 700 and change.
Okay, so what you're approving then is this change order number one. The only difference really is from what we expected is there's an additional $746.18 that it's going to cost us, and they have identified where that would be paid from. So it's not coming out of our reserves or anything like that. Okay, so anybody want to make a motion to approve change order number one?
So move.
Motion by Peterson, second by Olson, that we approve change order number one with Advanced Construction Company Incorporated for the South Park Phase 1 project. Any further discussion? If not, Sandy will call the roll.
John Lockwood,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Jillian Peterson,
Aye.
Deb Fensky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
and Paul Hagan.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, communications, recommendations of the mayor. Obviously, our next meeting will be Tuesday, August 19th at 6 o'clock, subject to call. We do have a Inland Lakes District meeting
5:45.
at 5:45 that night. You can anticipate some participation from the Mirror Shadow Lake group will be here that night. So we might run over a little bit on that, but make sure you attend that. We are, as council people, we are also commissioners of that Inland Lake Commission. So if you have any questions on how that works, make sure you get in contact with either the clerk's office or myself, or John Edelbeck, too, is well versed in that on exactly how that works. With that, then, we'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Lockwood, second by Hackett, that we approve, or we adjourn till our next regular meeting, which is August 19th, 2014, subject to call. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. We are adjourned at 7:41 PM. Thanks, everybody, for attending and watching.